Speed's coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona is brought to you by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. We are back, and for the first time since this race started, there is sun bathing this fabulous racetrack. Can you believe it? There's a decent break in the cloud cover. Finally, Dorsey.
Yeah, we see the sun for the first time, and it hasn't snowed yet either. But you never know.
Well, we are under our 20th full course caution. If you have just joined us, good morning. Welcome to Speed's continuing live coverage. 17 hours in total of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And there is a cleanup situation underway with just under 5 hours to go to the end of this one. The officials are attending to Joao Barbosa and the 59 Porsche-powered Brumos car. Here it is. And after such a strong, determined run from Hurley, Haywood, JC France, who was very racy last night, Terry Borcheller, a former champion and race winner, it was just a really strong driver lineup and a strong effort for these guys to end in such a spectacular way.
Yeah, there they are, 1 minute winning the race. We were talking about it, not seeing the 59 in front of a race for a long, long time, and then this happens. The good news is the damage by hitting the wall is all to the left of the car, and whatever they're looking for that caused that incident to happen is going to be on the right side, and I suspect the right rear. They'll have a look at that when they get back and try to fix this car. But
while this situation's being cleaned up, Dorsey, we'd like to welcome to the Speed booth Marshall Pruett, a name who is familiar to a lot of you who read and regularly log on to speedtv.com. Marshall is the speedtv.com editor for sports car racing. Marshall, first of all, welcome. Thoughts on the race?
It's brilliant, isn't it? Unfortunately, the 20 cautions and yellows are slowing the pace a little bit, but it's another brilliant 24 event.
Well, let's get to some very exciting news, because we've seen the promos on air on Speed that February 6th is a very significant date. It's my mum's birthday, incidentally, but other than that, it's a big relaunch of speedtv.com. Tell us more.
Absolutely. It's been about 6 years since we've been able to do a complete overhaul of the site. So with Speed going HD, going widescreen, we said, hey, you know, we need to upgrade the website as well. So when it last had its round of upgrades, websites are a little smaller, screens are a little bit smaller. Well, technology has grown, so we've thrown in everything we can possibly think of that's new and modern and going to help people get more from their viewing experience by diving onto speedtv.com at any opportunity. So we are going widescreen there. We're adding tons of videos, tons of content. We really do want to help assert our role as the online motorsports authority.
Well, I know you got lots more to tell us, but if you can hang around for a moment, this is what it will look like, the new design. It's being revamped. I mean, it is the motorsports authority already, but it is getting bigger, better, and more in detail. So we're very excited about that. Let's get down to pit lane as this rolls out. Terry Borcheller is standing by.
Well, all the crew members over in the Brumos garage right now waiting for that car. But Terry, these aren't the interviews you like to do, especially when you're leading races. But what happened with the 59?
It looks like the suspension might have collapsed. We don't know for sure, but the tire's not flat, and you can see that the fender well's down on the tire. So that's a spot where you normally wouldn't spin. So I'm sure Yao didn't do anything wrong. I think it just looked like something broke.
Now, everything's okay with Joao, right?
As far as I know, yeah, it looks like he just scraped the front. I didn't see how bad it was. I was in the RV high-fiving Hurley that we were in the lead, so it's a hard way to go out.
A real hard way to go out. But Skip over here at Brumos was just saying how great a job Terry Borcheller did this evening. They're hoping maybe they can have him back later in the year. Andrew?
One of the headlines in the GT story overnight has been the Pontiac's Leighton. Reese is with me. Leighton, a challenging night, really.
Unbelievable, you know, just with the weather and a few other things, and you get 80 cars out here, everybody's got the same idea. There's so little that can go right and so much that can go wrong. Unbelievable.
Now, a bit earlier, one of your good mates, Andy Lally, was wearing a very special hat, but we think you've taken the award for best hat in the pits.
Well, my sister-in-law, Linda Wright, made it, Mitch Wright's husband. It's actually quite functional, and it's...
I thought you were putting it down over your eyes.
Yeah, it's got some extra matching color, but I go for the straight black look myself.
Seriously, Leighton, I mean, this is a very strong program here from Pontiac.
Yeah, it's a good program. I mean, it's tough to get off to a tough start like this, but I see, you know, the 07 car's clawed its way back to the 9th position in GT, and we're right next to our longtime rivals, the Farnbachers. So, you know, the whole deal starts over. We might not be able to win it, but we gotta take every point we can because we're going for the championship.
Thanks very much. Back upstairs. And what sort of hats you got on up there?
No hats up here, Andrew. Marshall, we're about to go green. Anything else you'd like to add about the revamped SpeedTV.com?
You can just find a ton of original exclusive content there. We've got Jimmy Johnson interviews, Speed Source interviews, technical reviews of the Mazda RX-8, all kinds of stuff you'll find only on SpeedTV.com.
Many thanks and congratulations on it. Good luck with it, and thanks for all the great work that you do.
Thanks, mate.
Getting ready to go racing again, finally, and we do need to update that it is one Pablo Montoya in the car. Each driver plugs into their own slot with their cable and cord, and that identifies on the timing and scoring screen who it is. There has been an electrical short there, and it has gone in and it is activating Rojas's plug instead. It is one Pablo Montoya in the car, leading this race from Bert Frizzell and Joey Hand down into turn 1.
First time we've seen any brake clock up smoke since it's the first time it's been dry in quite a long time.
First time the guys have had to deal with the sun in their face as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, is it to be a hat trick for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates as they sort themselves out on the opening lap, this restart? It is still the 70 Speed Source Mazda that leads GT and leads comfortably. From Andy Lally, Romar Dumas, Johannes van Overbeek and Mark Greenberg, still the same top 5 in GT. But what's Bert Frizzell got for Montoya?
That GT battle has been a war since they dropped the green flag, and it continues to be that way. Sylvain Tremblay, the Speed Source Mazda still leads Andy Lally in the TRG. Porsche, Romar Dumas third.
Although offline, there is still plenty of damp racetrack. This must be so refreshing for it to be nice and dry.
They're happy right now. That sun in their eyes is a good sun.
Look at how dirty the bus stop is.
Yeah.
Mud, grass.
I said that at the beginning of the show, that this turns into a virtual skating rink through here with all the people dropping off and bringing all that up on the racetrack. And you're trying to go through there really quickly because it leads you to here. The banking, this is where you run your top speed. So the exit of that bus stop is critical.
Riding with Jimmy Vasser.
They're all out there now trying to take in all this sun, get a little suntan. Got a traffic jam in front of them, that's for sure.
Someone just dived up the inside. It was the 10 SunTrust car of Max Angelelli trying to force his way through. You've got to be racy here. You don't know what's going to happen, just like the 59. Any of the, whether you're on the same lap or not, your fellow competitors can drop at any moment, so you have to stay racy. You have to stay in the mix, although there's still 4.5 hours remaining.
Well, they tell you to run as fast as you possibly can and don't take chances. Now, how do you do that exactly? I mean, these guys are running 95 to 99% all the time.
A regular Rolex Sports Car Series race is 2 3/4 hours, so they've still got that and more to go. But the majority of the hard work is over. Angelelli slips up the inside of the Southern Lexus. Congratulations to Steve and Martha Southern, who have done a great job, and their team, their employees and the drivers. This is a small team from Ohio, and they are battling on. Bill Lester will partner Shane Lewis all this year in the 2008 season. And this has been a very spirited and strong run from that car.
Yeah, and Bill Lester, of course, was in the Craftsman Truck Series for a long time. I had him as a road racing driving student at Skip Barber many, many years ago. So Bill has got to drive a lot of different cars. He wants to be back here, though, back in the road racing roots that he started with.
You may say that 26th overall is not all that impressive, but to still be running at this time of the race is impressive by itself.
Absolutely. This is a small team doing it all themselves, out of their own pocket, out of their own house, you know, and doing a great job. This is not, no matter which way you approach the 24 Hours of Daytona, there is no inexpensive way to run this race.
Well, before Joao Barbosa, the next nervous moment involved the number 6 Mike Shank Racing Ford, and Ian James was behind the wheel. Let's find out what happened.
Well, Ian did have that incident on the racetrack. What exactly happened out there, Ian?
Yeah, just coming up to turn 5 and got
losing distance on the car in front, had to check up. So I just had to straighten the car up and take it onto the grass rather than avoid spinning out.
I know initially you were concerned about the nose of the car. Everything looked good there. Is the car in good shape to go the distance?
Yeah, actually, the car feels just exactly the same. We lost a couple of the front louvers, but everything's fine there.
Now, one thing Bill Riley wanted to build into this next generation car was to make it more crash-worthy when it went off the track. Usually when we saw that last year, those noses would rip right off. Do you think that helped?
Yeah, well, they're two pieces now, so the splitter and the nose are separate entities, so hopefully that's a good design help for us.
Well, it looks like these guys are in good shape for this distance. I'm sitting here listening to the Ganassi crew talk to Juan Pablo Montoya on the radio, and they're just constantly telling him the distance between he and Bert Frizzell right behind him, telling him the car lengths going +2, +3, +4, back down to +2. So really trying to be the eyes behind Montoya.
Bert Frizzell is yet to have his program confirmed for this year, but rejoice and thoroughly enjoy the moment chasing down Juan Pablo Montoya. Starting February 18, it's premiere week here on Speed, bringing you all the new shows, Supercars Exposed, Drag Race High, and Living the Low Life. Hit the prime time, delivering new heroes, a bunch of new characters, and new muscle, new curves. We've got it all. Premiere week, beginning Feb 18 here on Speed. Justin Wilson is still in the mix. He may not be on the lead lap. In fact, he's 5 laps down, but he is running 4th overall. And he is the second Mike Shank Racing Ford Riley in the top 4. Now put your Ford bias aside, because you're a Ford factory driver for many years, but there's a little piece of your heart that is painted blue and white. This is a remarkable comeback by this power plant, what Dan Davis and the Roush Yates guys have done.
Well, you know, the engine looked good. The package looked good before. Remember, we were a couple of years back talking about it got the best fuel mileage. It had the best top end, or as good a top end as anyone out there. And all of a sudden, everybody quit running it for some reason. Well, Dan Davis at Ford, you know, they came in there and they said, let's look at this series. I really like what I see. It's got a good growth. Let's put some effort into this. And so one of the problems that engine package had was it's very tall. It had a high center of gravity, so they worked at the top of the engine to reduce the weight. They got rid of the aluminum valve covers. They replaced them with carbon fiber, same with the intake manifold. Tried to drop the weight from the center line of the engine up and make a better package out of it, and look what's happened. I mean, that effort put in is paying off right now.
Have you ever written, say, a 1,500, 2,000 word blog on your BlackBerry? Well, Chris Neville's standing by with someone who does it all the time.
Well, you'd think, since he's got a car up in the top 5, maybe he'd be sitting on the edge of his seat watching this race, but every time I walk by, Mark Patterson is working on his blog, typing away with his thumb. Mark, how many pages have you written?
Oh, probably 10 or 12 full, legal-sized pages by now.
You're going to get carpal tunnel in your thumbs.
A carpet in my what? No. Thumbs work, fingers work, the mind doesn't work very well.
Okay, we were just talking about the Speed website, your website. If fans want to come check out what you've been writing about this race in the week leading up to it, where can they go?
The easiest place to go is to michaelshankracing.com and look for Mark's Takes. One of the buttons on the website, and you get a few stupid remarks every now and again. I pinch a lot of bums. It's kind of fun.
What's the funniest story you've told so far in the BlackBerry? Usually your stories just crack us up, but what's the funniest thing you've been writing about this race?
Well, I don't know. No one's ever given it a sort of a 5-star YouTube rating yet, but I did comment tonight about how wet it was coming out of the bus stop, and I said I saw more asses wobbling there than I ever saw at South Beach.
Oh, boy.
Mark has a little bit of Robin Miller in him. He doesn't hold back in those blogs. He gives everyone a bit of a spray.
If I had to do 1,500 or 2,000 words on a BlackBerry, the last 2 words would be, I'm dead.
You didn't do 1,500, 2,000 words in your whole school career.
Heck no. I was on a different agenda.
Well, the agenda with this car is quite plain and simple. Win the Rolex GT class at the 24. They're a Florida-based team. Sylvain Tremblay, French-Canadian.
They've got a 1-lap lead right now over the TRG Andy Lally Porsche. And 1 lap seems like a lot, but not with 4.5 hours to go. It's not, because if you have any kind of a problem whatsoever, a lap goes away from you in a hurry here.
It's amazing. This car was used, and not this very car because this is a brand new one for the 08 season, but the RX-8 race. John Doonan, everyone from Mazda Speed and Mazda Motorsports North America, and Sylvain Tremblay and Speed Source. This was really a flagship car. They raced the RX-8 in Coney Challenge a few years ago. Then they stepped up to the GT class, but last year they only ran 2 cars. They ran they're both there too, the 69 and the 70, and it just goes to show how many people stand on the sidelines watching and waiting for a new car that shows promise, because 2 cars ran permanently last year. Here at this race meeting this year, 6 Mazda RX-8s.
And let me tell you, the people at home that don't understand or don't know much about this GT division, these are street-derived cars. There's a Porsche right there, for instance. However, these are real race cars. They're tube-frame cars, they're carbon fiber bodies, and they're full race engines. There's no part of a street car on that car, with the exception of maybe that Porsche, because that race car is built by the factory at Porsche. And it is, to some degree, similar to a street one.
Looking at the 66 of Andy Lally, who runs in 3rd place. The 67 is Romar Dumas. And you talk about, and we've been talking about this massive operation from Kevin Buckler running 7 cars, but think about what he's got going on the other side of the fence. Just purchased late last year Darrell Waltrip Motorsports, and then they've moved into the old Robert Yates Cup shop in Mooresville in North Carolina. Both Andy Lally, he's relocated from Atlanta, Georgia. He lives up there. Kevin Buckler and his family, of course, live over in California in the Sonoma region, and Kevin has an apartment there that he shares with Andy. They're working flat out on their truck program. Last year, Andy did a couple of nationwide events. I think he did 3 ARC events, and he did a couple of NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series events as well, just to get up to speed, to learn, to make the switch, the transition from sports car racing to stock cars and trucks. They've got a full season of trucks ahead in 2008. It's a very exciting year, and so far so good in the tests that Andy Lally has done. It's all working really well, but he's got to contend with his teammate for this weekend, Romar Dumas, the very fast Frenchman.
You know, when I ran for Tom Glory Racing, we were out of California just like Kevin Buckler. And the reality of it is you can't be out of anywhere but, say, Indianapolis or Mooresville, you know, Charlotte area, and do the job that you need to do on a full-time basis as a race car prep shop driver, whatever. I mean, they are the nucleus of all of the activity in racing. That's where your parts come from, your engine suppliers. It's all right there. No shipping involved if you're there. But if you got to go all the way to California, it costs you more money, costs you more time.
That's why they made the move. Andrew, what do you have for us?
Lee, remember yesterday we had an email asking about the yellow lights. Now, I found a man who can throw light on this situation. This is Paul Costas from Expel. They're a new sponsor of the series. Paul, why do the GT cars run those yellow lights, and why have you got a special product for it?
Well, what we've done is, in order for at night for them to differentiate the DP cars from the GT cars, the marshals can't tell. I mean, it's just bright lights. Well, the GT cars all run a yellow film. That way they know, the marshals can tell that's a yellow car. When a white car pops up, white lights pop up behind it, they know instantly that's a faster car. They can give the passing flag, and it's for safety. Synergy Racing has been a long-time dealer of ours, and they helped us with this yellow film. It's extremely durable. What it does, it keeps the light together. If there were an accident, rather than the light shattering and there'd be, you know, glass everywhere, they're having to sweep up, marshals are in danger, there's more yellow flag laps. This way, the lens all stays together. It's better for the race. We go back to green flag racing sooner, and of course, we don't endanger the marshals as much. We have the exact same product for, you know, all the cars that are on today. You can go to expel.com and get your own. We have clear, we have yellow, we have blue, and we have smoke. So it's a great product for durability.
That's enough of the advert. Now,
sorry.
Why yellow or not blue? There's a special reason.
Well, the big reason for yellow is it transmits the most light. If the lights, at night you put blue over it, takes down a certain percentage of the light. Red takes down a certain percentage. Yellow lets the most light shine through. So we're giving the GT cars the advantage of the best light we can give them, while still giving the marshals the ability to tell the difference between the DP cars, which run our clear lenses, and the GT cars, which run our yellow lenses.
Now, you've worked with Synergy, but now you're also working with the series. You've done a new deal.
Definitely. The guys here at Synergy, Kerrigan and Cole, have been great with us, a great dealer for several years, and they worked with us and Grand Am, Scott Spencer, the director of competition with Grand Am, to we're mandating these now. It's better for safety. It's better all the way around for all the teams. So now all of our lenses yellow, all on every single GT car, clear on every single DP car.
Paul, thanks very much. Let's go back to the booth.
Of course, back in the 50s and 60s, we just took a piece of masking tape and put an X on the old headlight there, and it worked just as well.
Hey, Dorsey, do you think Paul had do you think Paul's had a few cans of Red Bull over the evening?
I think he might be on the coffee. A little bit strong.
It's all right, Paul. You can take a breath now. We're going to take a quick breath as well. It's time for a commercial break. 4 hours, 25 minutes to go. Who's going to win it? JPM won. Pablo Montoya is trying to go back-to-back. Ganassi is going for the three-peat. Just when things were looking promising for Justin Wilson and the number 60 Mike Shank Ford, drama for the former F1 pilot.
And you're looking at the good side of the car. What you see this side? Yep, that's a problem.
Tells the story. Here's the replay. Tell us about it, Dorsey.
Oh, he's wide here, gets off, and oh boy, that's a bad place to lose it. That's driver error. I hate to tell you that, but that was a mistake Justin made. Well, no,
that's
you know what?
Broken.
That is not driver error. The right rear suspension failed. Just coming around. Let's take a look. I think that the right rear let loose in turn two. Turn two, as I said at the beginning of the show, but that was yesterday, it's very near the exit. Listen to this thing. I think you'll hear it. Yeah, right up here. Suspension. He slammed it across that curb and it broke. And we talk about that here at Daytona, particularly a 24-hour race. Those curves, they're just like getting a punch to the gut. And look at the hole here. Look at this hole on the entrance before the curbing. Probably what, 6 inches? Yeah, I tried to draw that, but that didn't work. But there's a big hole right at the leading edge of that curbing. And Justin put the right rear tire right through that ditch, across that curb, and it broke the suspension. And he's lucky he didn't hit the wall. Watch the right rear drop after he hits this curb. Just concentrate the right rear of the car. He's going to hit the hole here. Bam!
Let's see it.
And that's broken the suspension. And look at the skid mark as he leaves there. Good job keeping it off that concrete wall.
Let's go down to the Shank camp. Here's Chris.
Well, Justin Wilson hopping out of the 60 car right now. You could see that right rear was just all askew, so definitely suspension failure there. And, you know, this is something we potentially saw in the 59 car just a few laps ago. So I'm starting to wonder, you know, something going on here with some of these Rileys and these the rear suspension breaking loose here in this late going of this race. But the team set for this car to come into the garage here. They're taking a look at that corner at this point in time to see what they're going to have to try and replace there to get them back out on track. But when you look in the garages, it's really kind of the walking wounded down here. The 60 car just going up on Jack's hands, the 59 just next to it, a little bit further down as they're trying to repair that car and get it out, and then a little bit further down the 02. So a lot of our top contenders that we thought were going to be in this race, and right up till the end, up here, or down here in the garage, up in Jack's stands.
Actually, Chris, the right rear of that car, the 60 car, was not a failure due to anything but the fact that Joao put it into a big hole and crashed it through a curb, breaking it.
Yes, down here we've got a problem with the younger 86 Porsche. This was a front runner. Jörg Bergmeister is sitting just at the wheel calmly. Actually, he's got his arms folded even, and they're changing a front radiator here. These things do get damaged quite easily. So this car, I'm afraid, is not going to be a GT winner. Jörg Bergmeister, so much success in the past at long distance races, but this isn't his day.
The GT fight is far from over. Tremblay may boast a one-lap lead over Romain Dumas, but it is far from over. Let's get back to this DP story, Chris.
Well, you can see the team down here working on both the front and the back of the car. They just rolled out a whole rear assembly, everything put together here, so they just need to disconnect that assembly that's on the rear of the car. They're going to put this new one on that's all bolted together. They just have to connect all the wiring, all the hoses, and get that screwed onto the back of the car. They're replacing the radiator at the front of the car. Now, we've seen these types of changes earlier with the 99 doing the gear cluster, the 02 last night. Most of these teams getting this stuff done in 10 to 15 minutes, so they're not going to lose a lot of track time. But once again, these teams that are maybe 5th to about 15th right now on the pole, well, they're thinking about the season ahead, so they want to get this car back out there so they don't start out too big of a hole.
Chris, I correct myself. I said that was Joao Barbosa. Of course, it wasn't. It was Justin Wilson that ran the 60 car through and across the curb that did the damage. Certainly wasn't a suspension failure due to not being something not being done right. It just, there's about a 6 or 7 inch hole in front of that curb, and when Justin went through there, it's all it took. My mistake. Sorry, Joao. He's in the next garage over. He didn't do anything wrong.
So it's Montoya, Frizzell, and Hand, all on the lead lap. And there is Juan Pablo behind the all-new G8, Pontiac G8 pace car.
Look at that corner, how dirty it is.
So while we are under our 21st, I can't believe we're saying that, 21st full course caution, we will go away to a break. Good time to grab a cup of tea or coffee. We'll be back with lots more. In position 1 with over 2,000 miles complete at the Rolex 24 at Daytona for 2008. That's exactly the way Chip Ganassi wanted it to happen. Let's talk GT though for the moment, because there was a hold-up at the Speed Source pit, and the 66 of Ted Ballou for the Racers Group got out first. So too did the 67. There is it leaving. So it was 66 ahead of 67. And then the 70 of Sylvain Tremblay was released. So Tremblay boasted a 1-lap lead. However, they are now on that same lap. Let's go down to Brumos. Here's Chris.
Well, the car's still up in the air, but they definitely are getting a lot of work done. Hopefully be back out on track. Hurley, what happened?
Well, I mean, it just goes to show you, I mean, we were running the perfect race. The guys were driving perfectly. The car was perfect. And we found ourselves, you know, sort of bouncing back and forth from leading to 4th place, and finally we got securely into 1st place. And Joe had a great restart, and then going around the banking, coming out of 4, the lower tie rod broke. The bolt that holds it on broke, and it just sent him right into the wall. There was nothing he could do about it. It's just, you know, you want to cry almost. It's just so much work, and to have something like that happen, it's just it's a crime. That's why we race, because we'll always come back next year and do it again.
Well, we heard Terry Borcheller say how Hurley and he were high-fiving right before this happened, so obviously an emotional roller coaster down here. But the good thing is Joao Barbosa is okay, and hopefully the 59 will be back on track.
What car is that is facing the wrong direction down in turn 1?
The 65, and I tell you what, very lucky to avoid coming back on the racetrack or getting into that wall that you saw it almost hit on the restart.
Russ Oasis is behind the wheel for TRG. Meanwhile, there's a good scrap. It's not for position, but it is for track position. As far as Max Angelelli's concerned, he is chasing Juan Pablo Montoya. He's some 12+ laps down on Montoya, but he wants to try and reduce that by 1 more. He's trying to get back on the lead lap, or rather, a lap ahead.
Take a look here as we get down in turn 1. We'll see what happens. He might have got nudged a little bit there, but look, this was very lucky not to get into the tire and bounce back. Let's take another look at this and see if he did, in fact, get helped along, possibly.
Scott Maxwell's view may help us.
Oh, it doesn't have a very good clean windshield.
Or not.
I think he did get a little help right there. And we should say that Sylvain Tremblay in the pits there, the problems that he had, unfortunately, was caused by his team car that was there before him. He had to go around it and be pushed back to get into his pit stall.
2 former open wheel stars, Montoya and Angelelli, going hard at it. And again, to reiterate that point, they're not on the same lap, far from it. JPM has completed 5:68, Angelelli 5:56. So there's a lot of catch-up work for the 10 SunTrust car to do, but if Angelelli can get ahead, that will help his cause over the next 4 hours and 10 minutes.
You can notice our sun has gone away, and a big cloud is over Daytona Speedway once again. Only over Daytona Speedway, however.
Joey Hand is still in 3rd behind Bert Frizzell. Top 3 all still on that lead lap. We understand Jimmy Johnson is now behind the wheel of the 99, and Kurt Busch in car 9. That's your top 5. Lexus Riley out in front versus Pontiac powered Riley. Look at Angelelli under brakes.
Yeah.
This is good stuff.
That's why you gave him the name. Max the Axe. Under brake, he takes more away than I've ever seen any driver be able to do.
Now, there's no harm here in Montoya letting him go, and that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, they're not racing each other for position, that's for sure. There's a big lap differential between the two cars. We need to mix it up.
As far as first to second to third, Montoya has a 13.5-second lead over Frizzell, and then Burt boasts about a 3-second gap over Joey Hand.
There it is, Jimmy Johnson riding on board the Gainesco machine. In just 2 weeks' time, Jimmy, of course, will run the Daytona 500. 50th time will run the Great American Race.
For Jimmy, it's his 4th appearance in the Rolex 24.
Got a smoker. Is it the 23? I think it's the 23 Rubik 2. Yes, it is.
Smoking
heavy
massively.
smoke. The Crawford Porsche now looks to be in trouble.
Will Joey come in this time round, or will they continue to monitor it? That smoke is too substantial.
He's got to come in.
That is too substantial.
4 hours ago, he's on pit in entrance. Not good.
Just when things were looking good, they've been slapped back again at Ruby Tuesday Racing. Was it just tire up? We'll find out. Chris is there.
Well, guys, we just got back from the garages, and the Ruby Tuesday car is sitting here. It smells a little bit like gearbox oil. So they're shutting the car down. Gonna have to take a look at this and see how extensive it is. Are they gonna have to get into the garage and maybe change out that gear cluster in the back end of the car? The team is looking all around trying to see if one of the hoses may be leaking, where that gearbox oil goes to a cooler. Lots of smoke coming off the back of the car right now, but quite a bit of it is off the tires, and definitely a little bit of that smoke coming from some type of oil back in there. It smells like gearbox though, guys.
There's a 4-lap deficit between the 23 and 99. Jimmy Johnson now can leapfrog this 23 Ruby Tuesday Porsche over the next 4 laps if this stays stranded in pit lane. And just see that.
Yeah, good shot there. You saw the oil dripping like crazy out from underneath the under tray of the back. So substantial oil leak on the 23 Ruby Tuesday Porsche.
Back to GT and back down to pit lane, and one of the stars for TRG has been Johannes van Overbeek.
Yeah, it's a very familiar face here on speed. Johannes, big battle going on between 3 of your team cars, really.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a race. We've been digging ourselves out of a hole on 2 separate occasions. And with the conditions, and we're having some issues with our car, it's been quite challenging, but J-Lo crew's been great. The TRG guys have been great. The car looks like it's okay. I feel confident we'll make it to the end, but, you know, a long ways to go still.
What was the problem you had?
We had a sticking throttle, and our temperatures are rising a bit more than we'd like, so we have to be careful on the revs.
You've huge experience with these cars, but what about last night? That was really tough.
Yeah, I mean, luckily everybody was doing double and triple stints, so you get a chance to settle into the conditions as they change. And, you know, luckily it never rained terribly hard, but it's the variable conditions, especially for the crew guys, it's very tough. And we have the best strategist around in Thomas Blom, and he always made the right call, so it worked for us.
Hannes, thanks very much. And I think he's come 3rd in my best hat on the pit lane award.
Well, J-Lo Racing is Dr. Jim Lowe, and Jim Pace, a former race winner overall, is in the car right now. Johannes has done a great job, and that was some smart work bringing his strategist from Flying Lizard Racing, Thomas Blom, over to call the shots. Now, we understand they had another close call. This is coming through NASCAR 4. Take a look at this. The Sortometric Porsche goes high.
certainly a place you wouldn't want to bump. You've got some aero issues here as your 3 cars side by side. Ooh, they did touch. They definitely touched, yeah. That is catastrophe if somebody loses it there.
2 sister cars getting close, and the 74, or it may have been the 14 autometric car. Ralph Kellner's behind the wheel, and the Ruby Tuesday boys are stranded.
Got reaction, got attraction, each a fraction, we're gonna die. Got redemption, full attention, any roadblock, I believe it, I believe it, I believe it, I believe I'll run it. You know I run it.
The unsung heroes that deal with the mechanical mayhem throughout the night. The guys you never see, you never hear from in interviews, but they are the backbone of each and every sports car team. The mechanics, the guys behind the scenes that get down there, deal with hot engines, gearboxes, etc., and just work tirelessly for the months leading up to this classic event. We're riding on board with one Pablo Montoya in the 01 Ganassi car, and that was close.
Kind of cut it close there, didn't he?
JPM's putting a lot of faith in some of the competitors around him.
Pardon me, I'm coming through one way or another.
Well, a veteran of 95 Formula One Grand Prix, victorious 7 times, and now has experience in stock car racing and is making a very good fist of it. Look how close this is.
Ooh. Oh, he had plenty of room. It was a paint check, that's all. Take an email real quick from Dan at Dearborn Heights, Michigan. He's asking about, good morning, guys. I've been watching the coverage since you started on Fox Saturday, and we appreciate that. I was wondering how many drivers are allowed per car. Well, the maximum is 5. What are the requirements in regards to the amount of time the drivers are allowed to drive? Well, you cannot drive more than 14 hours of a race, and you cannot drive more than 3.5 hours consecutively, at which time you have to get out of the car for a minimum of 1 hour rest time, which is his next question. Thank you, Dan, for emailing us.
Who was it?
Dan from Dearborn Heights, Michigan.
Dan, get outside, do something else. You've been watching too long. Actually, I guess it's snowing up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cold outside in Michigan.
Hey, listen, on a more serious note, let's get down to the Ruby Tuesday camp, because there is a very unhappy Joey Hand.
Well, you talk about those unsung heroes, the crew members. They just pushed the 23 back to the garage. Joey, we initially heard some radio communication. It sounded like it was gearbox related.
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's a lot of oil in the under tray. Looked like engine oil to me. I don't know. Could be gearbox oil. I'm not sure, but it's too bad because this Ruby Tuesday team, we've been running all night. We really, I think we did a great job. I wheeled this car as hard as I could. You know, I was eating a triple prime burger, drinking some Cytomax, trying to get rebooted up. I did a lot of time in this car and had a really good time. I was at the top of the leaderboard, and that's big news for me. So, yeah, it's just a shame. We got a great driver lineup. I'm proud to be on this team. We'll come get them this year.
Well, this team definitely did have an impressive run. Now, when they were taking a look at that car, they had the X-Track representative over here. That's from the Gearbox Company. They also had a Porsche engineer here looking at the motor. And when Billy Auberlin got behind the wheel, he fired it up, and the car was pouring out quite a bit of water. So it could be something there where we're seeing multiple things wrong with it, or maybe it is just an engine. But the team did push it back to the garage. They realized they had something much bigger on their hands, and back at the garage, they could have more crew members work on the car at one point in time than out here on pit lane.
Well, there's nothing so disheartening as being able to lead this race and go all the way to now and break.
Well, let's have a look at one of the things you may remember about Joey Hand, because it was seen all over the world on all kinds of sport highlights programs. This was at Mid-Ohio 2 years ago. One of the scariest crashes you will ever see.
I was calling that live, and I don't think I breathed through this whole thing.
Joey was on his way to a career in champ car racing, but a very serious crash in Toyota Atlantics really put a pause on that open wheel career, and he's worked his way up through Speed World Challenge and GT racing. And now he gets his big shot in a Daytona prototype. He's been very fast, and the 23 Ruby Tuesday Porsche has led for 85 laps of the 576 completed, and a mighty effort. That's inspiring for season 2008 in that all-American lineup in the Ruby Tuesday car. Now, Jimmy Johnson has gone ahead of the 23. and is now in 3rd place overall. So it's the 01 Lexus Riley for Ganassi, the 6, the Ford-powered Riley for Mike Shank Racing, the 99, the Pontiac-powered Riley. Here we go. We're on board with Jimmy right now for Bob Stallings, Gainsco and Lowe's. Then the 23, just purely through laps completed, although they're behind the wall, are in 4th. And Kurt Busch for the all-newly formed Penske-Taylor Racing team, the Toshiba car, is in 5th overall. Bert Frizzell, who has been a part of Daytona prototype racing almost since the inception of the category and has a long-standing relationship with Mike Shank Racing and Oswaldo Negri and everybody involved at the Ohio-based team, is running very, very well. On board the Terra Firma Porsche, this is 16-year-old Jordan Taylor, son of Wayne, brother of Ricky. It has been a real family affair, and spare a thought for Mum Shelley, who has been gnawing at her fingernails all weekend.
It's a very good point. I remember my mother when my father and my brother and I were all racing. The poor woman.
Your mum needs a medal for you.
And so that's right.
Did your brother turn out like you?
No, not really. I think he's got more brains than I do.
Jimmy Johnson has become very adept to weaving his way through the traffic. The slower cars, the rookies, as always, that we have here at the Rolex 24, including this young man with a big career ahead of him, wants to be just like Dad, as successful as Dad in sports car racing. Chris?
Graham Rahal just brought the 60 machine back out to pit lane, fueled it up, and back out on track. So, guys, I didn't have it on my watch, but I'd say that was probably around 15 minutes. Major damage to that car, both front and rear. This team worked incredibly hard. They're back out on the racetrack, and I'm trying to see where they are right about now. It looks like back in about 8th or so, so still in the top 10, if I can see that right.
Chris, you're spot on. They're in 8th. They were as high as 3rd when the drama happened, when that rear suspension part broke for Justin Wilson.
Unofficially, I think it's about a 12-lap pit stop they made. Lost 12, and that's pretty darn good when they had to replace as much as they did on that car.
Ruby Tuesday car is dropping. It's very close, although there's a significant gap between 1st and 3rd. We still have 2 cars on the lead lap. It's one Pablo Montoya and Bert Frizzell. But then it's close. 5:72 for Jimmy Johnson. Lap 570 Kurt Busch. So only a two lap deficit. Darren Turner for Krone Racing is on the same lap as Kurt Busch. He's only 5.8 seconds behind the NASCAR champion from 2004. And here is Kurt. He knows Turner, who is a road racing specialist, is hot in pursuit. Darren Turner won the GT1 class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans last year. He finished in the top 6 in the British Touring Car Championship. Factory Sayat driver, won several races. He did some Japan GT racing. He did American Le Mans Series. He did a little bit of everything last year, Darren Turner. So a highly accomplished man and a former McLaren F1 tester is in hot pursuit of one of the Sprint Cup stars. Should see the green Krone machine. There it is.
Not that far back, is it? Definitely within striking distance.
Now Angelelli has to wait just 3 more laps, and he will be the next driver, the next car to leapfrog the 23 Alex Job Porsche to move into 6th overall. Here is Darren Turner, the Englishman, on debut at the Rolex 24. He has raced circuits all over the world, and he said that these high banks did take some getting used to.
Oh, big crash here, the 3. He's been doing so well. Front undamaged, radiator's gone.
Shane Lewis is behind the wheel right now. Regular season-long competitor for Southern Motorsports.
What a shame. These guys have been doing such a good job throughout the night. Now back to the day. This car's going to have some extensive repair. I don't think the chassis looks all that bad, but
if I'm not mistaken, this is Shane's 25th 24-hour race. Very experienced, the Florida-based driver, but that's going to take some attention right there.
And hopefully they'll get a full course out, because I don't like the way that red truck is parked sideways to the road. Yeah. Full course caution. That truck that's sideways is a target for anybody who has a mechanical failure. I don't like to watch that. But they do have the full course out, and that'll slow everything up, hopefully. Again, these cautions the way they do is that when the caution comes out, the pace car will look for the overall leader. The pits are closed. No passing is allowed. However, you can race at race speed past. Once you see what the incident is, you can go as fast as you need to catch the field. And this is something that has caught many drivers out over the night. A lot of spins under the yellow. I don't like that. Shane Lewis is out of the car. I do like that. There he is standing there. He's not happy, obviously, of whatever's happened, but.
Right, while they address this situation, we'll take a quick commercial break and return to the Rolex 24 at Daytona again. The circuit bathed in sunshine. It's a nice sight as we take you home to the checkered flag.